Yes, I am.
Well, time for bed, I think.
It's a strange Cyber and Jess's wedding is on hold.
Yeah. Who knew that the priest got himself into a serious injury after getting drunk on the 22nd?
And I always thought men of the church didn't drink.
Me too, Kitty. It's funny, men of the church act all holy and religious, and then on Christmas they just go fucking berserk.
It's a mad world, ain't it, Sec?
Yeah, not half. At least they were able to move the wedding to next December. More time to prepare, innit?
Yeah, it's still the opposite of happy, though.
You're not wrong there, Kitty. Well, I may not be able to fix that, but I can tell you a special Christmas story before we go to bed.
Ooh! A Christmas story? I love Christmas stories!
Well, I'm sure you'll love this one. It's a brand new, never-before-told story. It's called Mr. Men Meet Father Christmas. Original concept by Roger Hargreaves. Written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves. Roger's son. It was Christmas Eve, and little Miss Tiny was excited. And the more she thought about Christmas, the more excited she became. Very, very excited.
I wonder what Father Christmas is doing at the moment.
She thought to herself.
He might be polishing his sleigh, he might be feeding his reindeer, or he might be wrapping my present. I do wish I could visit him and see.
Just then, she heard somebody outside her mouse hole. That's right, little Miss Tiny is so tiny she lives in a mouse hole, in the skirting board, in the dining room, in home farm. It was Mr. Daydream. I was on me way to see Father Christmas, he said. Would you like to come along for a Christmas holiday with me? Little Miss Tiny could not believe her luck. If it really was luck. Waiting outside was Mr. Daydream's magic bird. Mr. Daydream's enormous yellow magic bird. Enormous to you or I, but as big as the moon to little Miss Tiny. Mr. Daydream and little Miss Tiny climbed onto its back, and off they flew to the north. North all the way to the North Pole.
Look! There's a house with an upside-down roof,
said little Miss Tiny as they flew over.
Where are we?
She asked. We are flying over Motherland, said Mr. Daydream. Would you like to have a look?
Oh, yes, please,
said little Miss Tiny. In Muddleland, everything is in a muddle, and Christmas time is no exception. In Muddleland, they don't decorate their Christmas trees, they decorate their furniture. In Muddleland, they don't have Christmas lunch, they have Christmas breakfast. And in Muddleland, they don't hang Christmas stockings, they hang gloves above their fireplaces. And then they were off again, and before long they found themselves flying over Cleverland. Now, as you can well imagine, everyone in Cleverland is clever. Even the sheep are clever. So clever, in fact, they can celebrate Christmas. Little Miss Tiny and Mr. Daydream stopped off at many places on their way to the North Pole. In Loudland, they heard the noisiest carol singers in the world. They were much too noisy for little Miss Tiny.
Poor Miss Tiny. This noisy singing must be painful on her tiny ears.
Indeed, Kitty. And they flew over Nonsense Land, where the snow is yellow. My God, do large gangs of reindeer piss in the snow there every time it snows?
Ew!
Anyway, just one more stop before we get to the North Pole, announced Mr. Daydream finally.
What is that?
Asked little Miss Tiny. Cold Land. And it was. Cold, that is. Very, very, very cold. And in Coldland they had tea with Mr. Sneeze. Achoo! Sneezed Mr. Sneeze. Sneezed little Miss Tiny. Oh dear, said Mr. Daydream. I think you might have caught a cold.
Oh dear, poor little Miss Tiny.
Well, they don't call it Coldland for nothing. At last they reached the North Pole. Little Miss Tiny couldn't wait to meet Father Christmas. But where was he? They landed beside a large chimney stack all on its own.
How odd,
said little Miss Tiny. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound, and two big black boots appeared in the fireplace. "I think I need to lose some weight," echoed a voice from the chimney. It was Father Christmas doing chimney practice with Mr. Christmas. And with a pop, Father Christmas squeezed out of the chimney covered in soot.
It's probably too much milk and cookies every year.
Very likely, Kitty. Look there, he boomed to little Miss Tiny. "How about a big tour for a little person? I've got to clean myself up, but Mr. Christmas will show you around."
Yes, please,
said little Miss Tiny.
Achoo.
She sneezed. "Bless you," said Father Christmas and Mr. Christmas together. Mr. Christmas led little Miss Tiny to a large log cabin where she met the elves who were making all the toys. Sneezed little Miss Tiny. "Bless you, bless you, bless you," chorused the elves. Then Mr. Christmas took little Miss Tiny to feed Father Christmas's reindeer. "Rudolph has a cold just like you," said Mr. Christmas. "Achoo!" sneezed Rudolph.
Bless you.
Said little Miss Tiny. "Oh, so that's why Rudolph's nose is always red."
Zach, you're so silly.
And best of all, they saw where all the presents were stored. "And this one," said Mr. Christmas, picking up a very tiny parcel, "is yours." Little Miss Tiny's face lit up with excitement. "It may be small," said Mr. Christmas, "but Father Christmas won't forget to deliver it tonight." And just then, Father Christmas popped his head around the corner. He had dusted off his suit and was bright red again. He was ready for his busy night. Little Miss Tiny let out a small yawn. It was getting very late for a little person.
Aw, so adorable.
Indeed it is, Kitty. So little Miss Tiny and Mr. Daydream said goodbye to Father Christmas, Mr. Christmas, the reindeer and the elves, and climbed back on the enormous yellow bird. Little Miss Tiny could hardly keep her eyes open as they flew all the way home. On Christmas morning, little Miss Tiny woke to find herself sitting in her armchair, in her mouse hole, in the skirting board, in the dining room, in Home Farm. And there, next to her tiny pinecone tree, was a parcel Father Christmas had been.
Gosh,
She said to herself.
did that Christmas holiday really happen? Maybe it was just a dream.
But then,
Achoo!
she sneezed.
That was a cute story, Zach.
It was, wasn't it? Little Miss Tiny was always one of my favourite little misses. I'm glad they put her in the story.
She's very lucky to have met Father Christmas. Not many people get that chance.
Indeed she was, Kitty. A lucky little miss.
Do you think it really happened, Zach?
Who knows? I'll have to ask Miss Tiny next time I see her. We often meet her for afternoon tea. Anyway, it's time we were off to bed, little one. It won't be long before jolly old Saint Nick delivers our presents.
I can't wait to see what he brings us.
We'll have to wait till the morning, Kitty. A cute unicorn cat needs her cutie sleep, you know.
Merry Christmas, Zach.
Merry Christmas, Unikitty.